Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're taking a look at YGX's Hyunse versus Mbitious Olchan. So this was a battle that has been brought up in my comments as I have been releasing Street Man Fighter content. I could not originally find this battle, but after taking an extra dive onto the YouTube, I was able to find a version. Woohoo! And it was uncut, which makes it so fun for me. There's nothing crazy going on. I also heard that this one is a pretty controversial one in terms of the judgment. I heard that Hyunse took the win over Olchan, but I do know Olchan's movement quality enough that Hyunse would have to bring a lot to the table in order for that to be a justified reason. But I also heard the reasoning behind why the judges picked Hyunse over Olchan was the bigger issue versus who won or lost. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one and really doing my best to articulate why I would feel possibly Olchan would take Hyunse in this or the other. Also note that this is coming out on purpose at the same time as I have another video. It's more like a hot take of Street Man Fighter, our Street Fighter series. What are some of the worst judgment calls? And I do know some people would want this one on there. Please note that video was made in reference to all the commentary of all the videos I had already analyzed, not the ones I had not yet. And I also tried to tailor it to one choreography, one challenge, and one battle versus all battles, because let's be honest, most of the bad calls probably stemmed from battles alone. So I wanted to at least kind of span my reach on my topics for that. However, now that I'm taking a look at this, there is a high chance that this could also be deemed an honorable mention, and I may make that known in the video depending on what we see. So enough of me talking, let's get into the battle and let's watch it. Hyunse is on the right, Olchan is on the left. Ooh. So polyrhythmic. Little Harlem Shake variant, that was nice. Yes. Yep. Five, six, okay. It's really nice dynamics. It's great. Okay, so I heard that Hyunse won that battle is what I heard, so I'm just going to go off of that context. It was the difference between algebra, like playing algebra, and playing calculus. Olchan was presenting a calculus vibe to some of his polyrhythms. A lot of people call him the walking Spotify. It's sometimes, whenever you're exposed to music, there's a really good chance his brain can process a lot of different types of tracks. And our brains typically are able to retain music better than speech. That's just something that are developmentally and just how our brain works and on our hemispheres. It just works that way. So Olchan having that ability to really pick up on tracks just shows how much he's putting his ears to use in the realm. So it's cool to see that. So it's nice when he always knows the track. That can always be an advantage. And if he can't choose the track, then it's just tough luck. If you don't know it and he knows it, expand your Spotify, expand your Spotify, or expand your music. So seeing this here goes boom, so he hits it out, and you hear that. So a lot of what he does is so heavy in musicality. Musicality, if you're not sure what it is the connection between your music and your movement. In music, you have things like timbre, tonal color, you have just overall sound context, you have phrasing, you have crescendos, decrescendos, their dynamics, so your octave, your pitch, all of those things. And then there's all of vocals that come into play that's completely different than all of that. Then you have with your movement, you have finding different layers of your track, texture, dynamics, meaning more the Laban methods of time and space and depth, a lot of those, and combining those together to where they're cohesive. So whenever a sound in music has a particular like I notice that it goes because knowing when a pitch gets higher, like when you hear a pitch go higher, you naturally want to think higher with your movement. And so that's why this right here was a really good interpretation, because he was using his fingers to hit each independent syllable, but he was keeping them tied together with the legato of the hands. That was so fun. And notice he's not isolating he's not disconnecting his body from what's happening. There's always something going on, but all of it is involved in the piece. He that body roll coming up, still allowing himself to stay involved, bringing it in, and still hitting basses at the same time. And that's what makes this a calculus grade polyrhythm, because not only is he hitting more of a legato with his body rolls and his waving, but not only is it clear where he's going, and that's sometimes a lot of people really struggle with having clear direction with their wave. Sometimes they let it drop off before they go somewhere with it. He does a fabulous job of accentuating the basses while still allowing his wave to fully finish. And then from there, bringing it through, traveling it over to the side, which is really nice. Then over, he brings it on into a little trace as he picks up, questions the stability, not questioning in the sense of losing balance, and say he's showcasing a risk by going off on one foot, so it ups the difficulty of the stability required, and he just nails it. He uses his foot more as a rebound, and then he uses it to hit a different part of the rhythm and the beat pattern, as well as he's probably rhythmically executing a different layer. The fact that I am talking so much and we're only about like 10 seconds into his entire set is very impressive. The switch up right here. My only note that I would give him is he didn't really go to the floor at all, so any level usage, he did hinge, and honestly I think what he did was plenty enough, but if there's always something to grow in, there's always something that somebody can grow in one set. Does that make sense? So I would say with all of this, it is really nice to see him explore in a very dense way, all these types of, all these sounds in the track, because there's so much there, and he's hitting all of them. And it's very impressive as he goes boom, and then from there he reverbs it back into a reversal, and that's so fun. Right there, and that dude. And from that foot, it causes him to react. So as he loses balance, he steps forward, comes up, sits there, and freaking throws it. Little Millie, he grabs the energy. Whoa, computer, slow down. He takes it, brings it in, takes his arms, about to do a Harlem, but he doesn't finish it. He actually sets it up for something else, which is more energy grab. He sets it through, uses his leg to complement his upper body. Love it. That right there, that whoom, whoom with the twist. That's something I've seen from Baby Sleek. I love it. Twisting it around. Boom, boom with the switch up. So nice. Really nice kick too. Really nice risky framing there, which was fun. Taking it through. Having personality. And it goes choo, choo, choo. It was nice. It was nice. Taking it through. Also notice, with a lot of his movement, he is choosing to enter into his waving sequences differently every time. I love that. He started with his lower body to come up, ends up with some tracing variants, creating some energy material moments, throws the energy, catches the energy, and now he's choosing his shoulders to reinstate that wave, and I love it. Waving it through, do-do-do-do-do-do. Really like the choice of using the hands to bring it back out and in, allowing the foot to join the party. Then he ends up not just keeping it linear, but creating a fixed point of his having to isolate the shoulders in order to create that twist effect with his leg. Yeah, toss it away. That is right. Now, going into Hyunse. Hyunse did great, but his was not nearly as polyrhythmic as Olchan's. And I also heard that some of the reasons why Olchan lost were some very ridiculous reasons, which is why I gave my disclaimer. I still feel that the number one worst call was Trix and J-Rock, and you can go and really hear my thoughts there. I would include this as a possible honorable mention on justification, but I still feel with the Tricks in Olchan, we had some discussions on that. I had a whole analysis, which is why I already used that one as my honorable mention. This one could be an honorable mention too, so I'm saying that here because this one's going to get released with that other one, so you can watch both and we can all merrily discuss away in the group chat. But how he sets it up is nice, and it goes up, boom, boom, and he brings it in. I will say he ends up wasting a little bit of time. You know, he goes down 3. I do appreciate he's taking his time to set it up, but if you notice, Olchan is already identifying different parts of the track. That little doo-doo-doo-doo. There's a lot of missed opportunities, I think, on this track that Hyunse didn't use in the way that Olchan utilized in his track. That's also another thing you want to look at. But both tracks bring a similar level of difficulty on the layers, timbres, and tonal color. So tonal color is the instrument sound context. And then with the timbre, it's how the sound sounds, which is similar to an instrument. But if you can't identify it with an organic instrument like a violin, a drum, any type of percussion, but it's more on a beat pad, then timbre is a more appropriate term, I feel, that would be used in dance. But texture is the cultural representation of the timbre. Just like timbre is sound context, texture is movement context. What type of movement are you doing to that type of sound? And does it match together? There's a lot of those sounds that happen in tracks like this. From a cultural standpoint, from an era standpoint, time period, those things all kind of collaborate and work well together. But here, notice he does a great job, don't get me wrong. Sets it up, boom, shh. But he's hitting more on a very predictable pocket on a track like this versus exploring the da-da-da-da, taking risks on the musicality. And that's something that you saw Olchan do. But also, I think that Hyunse's movement is more digestible for who's adjudicating it. We already have plenty of thoughts of what happened with this entire season. His was easier to look at and understand what was going on. Olchan, it requires you to have to get some water, because get ready, it's going to be a TED Talk. You know what I mean? And that's my difference of algebra / geometry versus calculus. You know, both are cool. But notice how he sets it up. Very predictable. It's more isolated. He's keeping more stagnant in his position in his legs. Does allow it to come up more of a ball change situation as he hits it up. A nice little Harlem shake. That little boom. He beat catch that, which was nice. I like that. Easy and boom. So he's riding through the lyricism and the bass, but I don't think he's hit that little and that's something that Olchan's probably waiting on him to hit. And I would be waiting on him too. I'll be like, hey, I hit everything. You need to hit everything. Did he? I don't think so. Really nice to see this zoom, but notice how it's very plain. Not saying that what he's doing is not bad. No, it is wonderful. But in comparison to the complexity of what was brought before him, that was deemed more simplistic. And simple does not mean easy, but whenever you're doing a battle, Olchan pulled out the battle kit. Hyunse looked like he was vibing in an exhibition. That little do-do-do-do, he brings it through, do-do-do-do, really nice. But it's also predictable sequences, how he's bringing them through with the tuts, boom. A lot of times when you see this, I'm going to expect you to do a little switch around, and that's what he did. Bringing it down, boom, do-do-do-do, easy, boom, the easy. So he's using one part of the body to influence something else to cause a response. Olchan had something going on over here and had something completely separate happening over here, but they were collaborative together. So he didn't compromise the riskiness nor the complexity for the sake of making sure that he was stable while he hit it. He made it work based on how his body responded to it. It was very nice. Right here, I do like this groove right here, but he ended up repeating it a couple of times. He did build it, which was really nice. Bringing it through. I love that. Doon, doon, doon. And then he taps it through. That was nice. Da-da-da-da-da-da toss. But remember, da-da-da-da-da. He still hasn't hit it yet. I like that. Da-da-da-da, boom, boom, boom. But I don't quite know what that part of the sound context he was trying to hit in that particular moment. That was nice having a little hinge there, bleeding it through. We've already kind of seen this rotation as well. That's another thing Olchan didn't repeat. That was something that Olchan had brought to the attention of Trix. Yo, you keep pulling out the same stuff. And that was one note that I made of why Ochan got the upper hand between they're two world-class battlers in two different fields. So that was like, it's, of course it makes sense that it'll be a close call, but why is it a close call and why I chose Ochan, you have to be mindful of. You can't discredit who your opponent is, but also you have to make sure, like, whenever you're looking at battle kits and what they're doing, tricks at that point in time, he was already using and utilizing his hat tricks, and his setup was very similar every time, and that can be one of those things that you can get called out for, which is exactly what Ochan called him out for, and also with listening to your track. Yeah, so he's hitting the same in setups within his waves, as well as he's using his shoulder a lot to get into what he needs to get into. It looks awesome. Don't get me wrong. It is fundamentally sound. It looks great. However, you can't be repetitive in your setups when you're against someone who doesn't repeat their setups. It's a battle, right? Yeah, he also did another like kind of floral turn. We've already kind of seen that as he set up into his tut. So that's something that was a repeat that he did. Yeah, no, that Ochan's in his own freaking little world. Like, that's hilarious. That was nice, boom, and then he takes it. It's just interesting how he chose to go into the wave and then how he chose to finish it out. I mean, overall, that was nice. I think Ochan should have taken that. But I do know that I believe Hyunse took it. And, I mean, I'm trying to justify it, but we also know there's sometimes some decisions, what they choose to choose as criteria is not right. It's not proper criteria. So at the end of the day, we all know in our hearts, Ochan took this. I humbly, firmly believe, and I hopefully based on my perspective and how I just came across, I proved that I really feel and I stand behind my reasoning for why Ochan would have beaten Hyunse. But Hyunse did a good job. He was not on the same tier of comprehension or level of execution that Ochan was. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I was helpful in some way. If you want to see more Street Fighter content, I actually have a couple of full episode seasons of the show that I am actively reacting to at this point in time. I believe it's Street Dance Girl Fighter, both season 1 and season 2. I'm doing a full episode reaction on those on Patreon. I also have a couple of K-pop group marathons going on. I'm kind of playing catch up a little bit with some of the groups, and I also have a ton of exclusive content, Patreon requests, things of the like over on Patreon. But if you are totally fine with waiting it out, just like everybody else on YouTube, that is totally fine. My goal is for all of my content that I make to make it its way onto YouTube eventually, unless copyright says no. So once again, I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.